and collective privilege. During his fourth State of the Nation address, we heard President Rodrigo Roa Duterte loud and clear. You are free to investigate. I don't take offense. If there's anything wrong in my department, the executive, you are free to investigate. Feel free to expose anything. In all of my years as a public servant and as a member of this revered institution, I have been unflinching in my fight against corruption and wrongdoings, blowing the lid of anomalous activities in the government, from the money laundering scheme by Juan Jose Pidal, the diversion of 728 million pesos in fertilizer funds engineered by Juan Joc Volante, COMELEC Commissioner Virgilio Garciliano's Hello Garci tapes, the botched $329 million contract between the Philippine government and China's ZTE for a national broadband network project, the chopper scam, where second-hand helicopters were sold as brand new to the Philippine National Police, the Tara list or payola in the Bureau of Customs, and the cholesterol-rich pork barrel, to name a few. Mr. President, hearing what we all heard from no less than the Chief Executive when he issued words of encouragement to us in a joint session of Congress last July 22, I could not help but respond to his call by talking to myself. Say no more, Mr. President. I did it many times before, and I will do it again as I do now. I will be presenting incontrovertible evidence. I leave it up to you to act in the same way that you have acted many times before, swiftly and firmly. We know for sure that we are on the right side of the fence when no less than the President of the Republic calls for the eradication of corruption and vows no sanctuary to sacred cows in the government. In corrupted offices, we tend to refuse to see the sacred cows, but when sacred cows become intolerable mad cows that bring transmissible, infectious, progressive, and fatal disease that continues to plague our country, an alert must be issued in no time. Hence, with the same unwavering tenacity as before, I round up the herd, find the mad cow, chop its flanks, cut off its horns, and hopefully lay it to rest. Lately, I discovered one that is ill and disgusting. I speak of the disease that besets our health sector, starting off from the state-run firm that provides public health insurance and health care services for all Filipino citizens, the corrupt and corrupting system of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth. And while President Duterte has acted with firmness and dispatch by assigning retired Army Major General Ricardo Dick Morales, whose reputation as a no-nonsense and principled military officer precedes him, this humble representation still finds the need to expose shenanigans within PhilHealth, most of which were not covered by a recent series of jolting news reports in the Philippine Daily Inquirer and other media outlets. Mr. President, PhilHealth is bleeding dry, and the Commission on Audit has raised red flags to call our attention. It seems to me that year in, year out, its financial deficit spirals out of control. From 2013 to 2017, the net operating income of PhilHealth continues to be at the negative level. 5 billion in 2013, 1.8 billion in 2014, 5.7 billion in 2015, 6.1 billion in 2016, and 10.5 billion in 2017. Mr. President, the fund viability, membership, collections, and investments of the agency are not looking good, and the PhilHealth's actuarial valuation report of 2016 shows us a clear picture. The report exhorts, and I quote, PhilHealth will go through difficult times and will encounter crisis if the recommendations will not be implemented, unquote. The agency's performance is also dismal. 2017's performance scorecard shows that it gained an overall score of only 47.82% from the Governance Commission for Government-Owned and Controlled Corporations scoreboard. This is disturbingly lower than the target score of at least 90% for its appointed members to be granted performance-based incentives. More disturbing is the fact that the GCG scored PhilHealth's prosecution rate at 0%, arbitration rate at 0.14%, and claims processing rate at 0%. Ironically, PhilHealth's collection efficiency rate, meaning its ability to collect contributions from its members, is quite impressive at 79%. What gives? Mr. President, this is pain in the chest, especially of paying members of PhilHealth, and that would include people in this hall and the gallery and the rest of the 18,207,555 Filipinos who pay mandatory contributions every month. Meanwhile, more than one-third of the population still have no access to any form of PhilHealth insurance. PhilHealth is already operating at a loss, spending beyond its means. But where does the money go? Here's the paradox. The financial health of PhilHealth is fast deteriorating and, in fact, in a state of coma. The policies in place engender fraud and corruption, and the crooks exploit the system. There are several telling signs showing how PhilHealth wantonly drains the public coffers, but those in the highest echelons of power in the agency seem to turn a blind eye, aggravating the degenerate state of the agency. We see various culprits and incarnates. One is the highly contentious and untenable policy called all case rates, or ACR payment scheme. Simply put, PhilHealth pays per case and not by actual expenses. These case rates are the new reimbursement rates for all cases specified as professional fees and serve as package payment for health interventions to be paid to the healthcare providers or healthcare institutions. It is a complete departure from the prior fee-for-service payment scheme. Per PhilHealth Circular 31, Series 2013, all case rate policy number 1, the payment scheme is founded on one underlying objective: increase support value to members. Data from the 2014 Audit Observation Memorandum of the COA for Northern Mindanao shows us how the new case rate works. For example, in Bukidnon Provincial Hospital, Manolo Fortich, one patient treated for pneumonia registered actual hospital charges of only 4,820 pesos, but PhilHealth paid out 15,000 pesos, or an excess of 10,180 pesos. A PhilHealth accredited private hospital, Bongkas Holy Child Hospital, also in Bukidnon, a patient with typhoid fever incurred 5,763 pesos, but PhilHealth paid out 14,000, or an overpayment of 8,237 pesos. A case of cesarean section surgery in Llano del Norte Provincial Hospital incurred hospital charges of 9,057 pesos and 95 centavos, but PhilHealth reimbursed with 19,000 pesos, a difference of 9,942 pesos and 5 centavos. From the said COA audit alone, of the total or of the 6,128 cases recorded, an appalling 20% accounts to overpayment. Hence, when PhilHealth's benefit claims reached unprecedented high levels from 2013 to 2018, using the all-case rate payment method, without an iota of doubt, something does not add up. In fact, the corporation paid 512.6 billion in benefit claims from 2013 to 2018, of which the overpayment, if conservatively pegged at 20%, based on COA estimates, would amount to 102.5 billion pesos. If we are to include the global estimates on losses to fraud due to improper payments computed at 10%, or 51.2 billion pesos, we get an estimated PhilHealth losses to overpayment and fraud at 153.7 billion pesos. PhilHealth officials belatedly justify overpayments as nothing but, and I quote, efficiency gains. That is, hospitals that receive amounts in excess of their actual charges may use the funds to effect or to offset the losses they incur from other patients. In fact, former PhilHealth President and Officer in Charge, Dr. Roy Ferrer, casually dismissed the issue and said the case rates are so designed that so that health facilities can, and I quote, win some and lose some, unquote. Let me ask, win some for whom and lose some for whom? Between you and me, this justification is nothing but an afterthought, and it insults our common sense. By winning some, for some hospitals, do they expect us to accept it to mean PhilHealth losing some in billions of funds looted from the corporation? Let me indulge you with these findings. On pneumonia cases alone, the Bondok Peninsula District Hospital's actual charges are at a meager sum of 200,397 pesos, but PhilHealth has recorded a payment of 5,025,000 pesos, easily a 2,508% incremental difference. In the far-flung town in Sulu, the Siasi District Hospital only charged a total of 67,459 pesos, but as per PhilHealth records, it paid out 430,500 pesos to Siasi District Hospital, or a 638% increase. In the National Capital Region, GAT Andres Bonifacio Memorial Medical Center charged around 5.2 million pesos, but the PhilHealth recorded reimbursements reached 28.8 million pesos for a difference of 23.6 million, or overpayment of 556%. The 2013 to 2018 data called from PhilHealth dashboard shows us that overpayments on pneumonia cases alone can balloon from a low of 387% to a high of 2,508% in government hospitals. They can call it any name, fancy or otherwise. Common sense will tell us these are not efficiency gains, but flagrant pillage of public monies as well as hard-earned contributions from the more than 18 million paying members. Private hospitals are likewise, quote, winning some, unquote. In fact, we found overpayments ranging from 100-fold to 700-fold higher than their actual hospital charges. All right, let us assume for a while that efficiency gains is a sound and reasonable scheme to justify the PhilHealth's win some, lose some formula. Let us stretch our understanding that efficiency gains can benefit government hospitals, as these overpayments, if actually received by them, may trickle down to the general public who are mostly poor and vulnerable, or for procurement of additional hospital facilities, or for other noble purposes. Granting without accepting, are there parameters or guidelines or accounting of those overpayments? We tried hard to look, Mr. President. We cannot find any. And why would private hospitals be accorded the same efficiency gains or benefits and incentives they claim to be given to government hospitals? Again, we have some representative samples of private hospitals under the same efficiency gains scheme. Sa Region 10, ang Olegario General Hospital ay nakatanggap di umano. Yon ay yung kung paniniwalaan natin ang PhilHealth ng 38.2 million pesos mula sa PhilHealth. Samantalang 5.04 million pesos lamang ang ginasta at siningil nito. Nangangahulugang pumapalo sa 758% ang overpayment. Sa National Capital Region, ang Dr. Sabili Health Services ay gumasta at naningil ng 3.08 million lamang. Subalit sa record ng PhilHealth, 20.7 million pesos ang sabi nila ay naibayad. Kaya 673% naman ang naging overpayment. Samantala, ang Eastern Sun Medical and Diagnostic Center Incorporated ay may gastos at siningil sa PhilHealth, may siningil sa PhilHealth na 4.7 million lamang. Pero ang PhilHealth naman, base sa record, ay nagbayad ng 29.6 million, kaya higit 628% naman ang sobrang bayad. We can go on and on with our list, Mr. President. Kaya lang, it may be hazardous to our health. Baka ma-high blood lang tayong lahat. PhilHealth boldly claims that these health institutions actually receive these are normally high overpayments. But I couldn't help but wonder, with nothing but words from PhilHealth officials, how can we take those words when there is no showing that these hospitals actually receive the overpayments? Overpayments are monies that invite fraud and corruption. No one keeps track where it goes, which health programs it funds, which health members it benefits. We already heard of the massive fraud perpetrated by the modus operandi of WellMed Dialysis and Laboratory Center Corporation. Ang mga lumantad na whistleblowers ay nagpahayag na nagsusumite ang WellMed ng peking benefit claims at ang nakakagalit pa sa lahat, ang paniningil ng WellMed sa mga PhilHealth ng gastos para sa dialysis ng mga pasyenteng nangamatay na. In response, PhilHealth officers claimed that payment to WellMed was cut as early as January 2019 following reports of anomalies. Pero binobola lang pala tayo, Mr. President. Business as usual pa rin ang WellMed sa pagkubra ng reimbursements. Sa katunayan, base sa nakuha naming datos sa PhilHealth dashboard ng Central Office, mula Enero hanggang Hunyo 2019, ang kabuuang reimbursements ng WellMed ay pumalo pa rin sa 4.24 million pesos. Noong nakarambuan lamang, kumita pa rin ang WellMed ng 1,224,600 pesos mula sa PhilHealth. Ang saya-saya nila, Mr. President. Not only did WellMed continue to receive payments, it was also paid in record speed with turnaround time as short as 2 days at the time when the fraud was already made public. Kanino ba nagmamano itong may-ari ng WellMed at tila napakalakas? Marahil kung makakabangon lamang ang mga dialysis patients na namatay at nailibing na, at kung hindi pa nabuko ay patuloy pa rin pinagkakakitaan ng WellMed, ewan ko na lang kung sino-sino ang una nilang dadalawin para pagsasasakalin. Hindi lamang ghost patients mayroon ng PhilHealth, mayroon din silang overstaying patients o mga pasyenteng pinapauwi na ng doktor kung bakit ayaw pang pauwiin ng ospital para lamang mapagkakitaan pa ang PhilHealth. Ang masama, tila kinukonsinti pa ng ahensya ang ilang mga ospital sa mga kalokohan nito. A case in point is the Perpetual Socor Hospital based in Cebu, which was found guilty of extending confinement to siphon PhilHealth funds. In 2011, the hospital filed benefit claims extending the period of confinement of 2 patients with the intent to defraud PhilHealth. For one, instead of recording the hospital doctor's may go home order on 22 July 2011 for patient, let's call her Maria, Perpetual Socor Hospital filed for her confinement a day longer. Meanwhile, another patient, let's refer to him as Jose, whose confinement covered inclusive dates of December 25, 2010 to February 3, 2011, as reported to be confined until February 7 or a 4-day confinement extension. Due to this, the PhilHealth Arbitration Office adjudged Perpetual Socor Hospital guilty of extending period of confinement and meted the penalty of 3-month suspension and a fine of 10,000 pesos. As part of due process, the hospital filed a motion for reconsideration with the PhilHealth Board of Directors, which, in the exercise of its quasi-judicial powers, denied the motion and upheld the arbitrator's decision. Consequently, a petition for review was filed by the hospital with the Court of Appeals. Finding no merit, the Court of Appeals Division dismissed the petition, and the motion for reconsideration filed by the hospital was likewise denied. An entry of judgment was made by the Court of Appeals on April 19, 2018, which means that the petition has become final and executory and recorded in the Court of Appeals Book of Entry of Judgments. Despite this, the PhilHealth Board, acting on a letter request for reconsideration filed by Perpetual Socor in a brazen display of grave abuse of discretion, set aside the final executory judgment of the Court of Appeals and instead imposed the penalty of 100,000 pesos fine in lieu of the penalty of 3-month suspension and a fine of 10,000 pesos. Imagine this, para sa isang ospital tulad ng Perpetual Succor na kumukolekta sa PhilHealth ng hindi bababa sa 30 milyong monthly average na koleksyon, ano na lamang ang halaga ng 100,000 pesos na multa? Ako na rin ang sasagot, Mr. President, barya. Dahil sa 3 buwan na dapat ay suspendido ang Perpetual Succor Hospital, ay halos 100 milyon ang malamang na nakolekta nila mula sa PhilHealth. Perpetually lucky. One may ask, can the board legally do it? What is its legal basis and authority in overturning a final executory judgment rendered by no less than the Court of Appeals? Why would the PhilHealth Board even do that, Mr. President? Maybe the better question is, magkano? I know that PhilHealth has so much on its plate. The issues of overpayments and fraud are just a prelude to its telltale chronicle of shenanigans and corruption. Speaking of a tale of woe, PhilHealth faces another fiasco as plunder raps were filed against Health Secretary Francisco Duque III and his brother and attorney Gonzalo Duque. The case involves lease contracts that PhilHealth entered into with the Educational and Medical Development Corporation, where the Duque brothers own shares. Frankly, when I tripped on this anomaly in June of this year and called it a clear case of conflict of interest, I never thought I would hit a nerve so bad that Gonzalo Duque, a lawyer, would call me names after dismissing the issue of conflict of interest. It was a banter of poor taste born out of anxiety and how anxious he must be. Documents show that PhilHealth's Region 1 office had rented a building owned by the EMDC on Francisco Duque Jr. Street, Tapuac District in Dagupan City, from June 2012 to December 2018. The lease payments of the Duque-owned building with a total floor area of 1,853 square meters steadily increased through the years, from monthly lease of 368,500 pesos in 2012 to 432,305 in 2016. The contract for a year, or for the year 2018, was amended to cover 2,015.4 square meters, and the monthly rental was set at 529,261 pesos and 4 centavos. Copies of EMDC's General Information Sheet in our possession show that Secretary Duque was among the 8 stockholders of the company, all of whom are from the Duque clan. His siblings, Attorney Gonzalo Duque and Dr. Luz T. Duque Hammersheim, held the position of EMDC president, exhibited in various lease contracts with PhilHealth. Clearly, at the time PhilHealth was paying sums of lease payments to the Duque-owned building, Dr. Francisco Duque directly held concurrent positions in their family corporation and high-ranked government posts, which created an undeniable conflict of interest. Noong 2012 lamang, or habang siya ay nakaupong Executive Vice President ng EMDC, siya rin ang Chairman ng Civil Service Commission, nakasabay na naglingkod bilang ex-officio member ng PhilHealth Board of Directors. Bukod pa rito, habang siya ay consultant ng Department of Health mula May 2015 hanggang June 2016, tumayo rin siya bilang presidente ng EMDC. A Supreme Court ruling, Funa versus Duque, Executive Secretary, Office of the President, under GR number 191672 on November 25, 2014, declaring as unconstitutional Civil Service Commission Chairman Duque's designation as ex-officio member of the PhilHealth Board, notwithstanding the effects of his acts prior to the declaration of the unconstitutionality of the executive order, and I quote, cannot be erased, ignored, or disregarded, unquote, applying the doctrine of operative fact. Ang pinakalantarang paglabag sa mga umiiral na batas ay ang pagpapatuloy ng kontrata sa pagitan ng EMDC at PhilHealth sa kabila ng pag-upo ni Dr. Duque bilang kalihim ng Department of Health at kasabay nito bilang chairperson ng PhilHealth simula noong Oktubre 2017. Ang EMDC ay nagpahayag noong Hunyo 2019 na wala na itong intensyong palawigin ang kontrata ng pag-upa ng PhilHealth na magtatapos sa Disyembre 2019. Pero ginawa lamang ito pagkatapos na mabulgar ang issue ng conflict of interest na nakapaloob sa kontratang ito. Ang gusto ba nilang sabihin, utang na loob pa ba natin sa pamilya nila na hanggang Disyembre 2019 na lamang magbabayad ang PhilHealth sa EMDC? Kaya naman hanggang sa mga sandaling ito, Mr. President, nagaganap pa rin ang conflict of interest. Pakisagot nga, Attorney. Mr. President, I wish to reiterate under Section 3I of RA 6713 or the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees, and I quote, conflict of interest arises when a public official or employee is a member of a board, an officer, or a substantial stockholder of a private corporation or owner, or has substantial interest in a business, and the interests of such corporation or business or its rights or duties therein may be opposed to or affected by the faithful performance of official duty. Under Section 7, Prohibited Acts and Transactions of the same Republic Act, Paragraph A, Financial and Material Interest. Public officials and employees shall not, directly or indirectly, have any financial or material interest in any transaction requiring the approval of their office. In the case of the Duque-owned family EMDC, if the case of the Duque family-owned EMDC is not a case of conflict of interest, I do not know what else to call it, Mr. President. Going back to Attorney Gonzalo Duque's anxiety, I will quote his unwise and reckless words directly referring to this representation. He said, without mincing words, hindi mo magigising yung may purpose o nagtatanga-tangahan. Walang ospital para sa tanga. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I could not agree more with Gonzalo Duque. Totoo namang walang ospital na makakagamot sa isang katulad ni Gonzalo. Mr. President, the discovery of ownership of the building is in Dagupan being leased by PhilHealth has opened up yet another Duque-owned can of worms. It is called Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this time I invite your attention to another lucky business entity, that is the Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, a drug manufacturing company located at number 8 Veteran Center, West Bicutan, Taguig City, owned by who else but the family of the Secretary of Health himself, Francisco T. Duque III. Based on our data sourced from the Philippine Government Electronic Procurement System, or PhilJEPS, Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, with active platinum membership, is an accredited corporation that bids for government contracts primarily with the Department of Health since year 2005. Ask a moron if there is something wrong with this situation, and surely that moron will give you the correct answer, Mr. President. That said, my office was able to acquire the general information sheet of the company covering a 10-year period from 2008 to 2018. Under the list of directors, officers, and stockholders of Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated are very familiar surnames. Cesar T. Duque, Chairman with 60% shares. Joyce Ma Duque, Treasurer with 20%. Dr. Luz Duque Hammersham, President with 10%. A certain Leon Guerrero, Corporate Secretary with 8%. Please let us know if this is you, Senator Lapid. And Maria Teresa S.P. Castro, Chief Accountant with 2%. Evidently, Mr. President, only 10% of the total shares belong to the non-Duque personalities from the list provided. First, we ask, Mr. President, is it just a mere coincidence that Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated became an accredited government contractor and supplier on the same year that Secretary Duque was confirmed by the Commission on Appointments as Secretary of Health during the Arroyo administration in 2005. Further, Mr. President, we have noted a number of suspension and product recall orders released by the FDA, or the Food and Drugs Administration, to Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated. This was during the incumbency of former Health Secretary Janet Garin, who was also Acting Director General of the Food and Drug Administration in concurrent capacity. In fact, I asked her if she knew at the time that she was suspending a Duque family-owned corporation. She did not. Based on a routine inspection conducted between March 10 to 12, 2015, the FDA reported non-conformance to GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practice of Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, hence ordering the company to immediately cease and desist from further manufacturing, distributing, and offering for sale all concerned products for not complying with good manufacturing practice. She also discovered that Doctors Pharmaceuticals was also manufacturing for other companies. Hence, the June 23, 2015 cease and desist order and the recall of all drug products from March 14 up to the present, or on June 23, 2015. However, the FDA noted in January 2016, through an investigation prompted by an anonymous complainant, that Doctors Pharmaceuticals continued its production line despite the cease and desist order. The same inspection report recommended thereafter that the company stop production and distribution of pharmaceutical products until sufficient data was presented to prove that there was no contamination, and that the same were safe for consumption, as in the case of amoxicillin, an antibiotic that the Doctors Pharmaceuticals was manufacturing with the same machines which they used to manufacture supplements such as Garcinia, a supplement used for weight loss. Hence, if consumers took the supplement, they might also be unknowingly taking antibiotics. The danger lies in that persons allergic to amoxicillin could be put in danger. Worse, if the antibiotic was consumed in suboptimal amounts, it could contribute to serious problem of antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance has been identified by the World Health Organization as one of the most serious and dangerous issues the world is facing. Halimbawa, isang kasama natin dito sa Senado, si Senator Bato de la Rosa, ay gusto magpapayat, kaya umiinom siya ng juice na may Garcinia supplement. Pero lingid sa kaalaman niya, iisang makina lang ang ginagamit ng kumpanyang nagsusupply sa DOH ng pagtimpla ng Garcinia food supplement at amoxicillin na isang antibiotic. E nagkataong allergic pala sa antibiotic si Senator Bato. Napakadelikado po nito. Baka sa halip na pumayat si Senator Bato, baka hindi na siya tubuan ng buhok. Pasensya ka na, Ronald. Wala na yung mista ko, nasa DICT na, ikaw lang ang kaya ko dito. Levity aside, Mr. President, yan po ang naging violation ng Doctors Pharmaceuticals, kaya sinuspinde noong Marso 2015. Despite the recorded violations of the company as food supplement manufacturer, it still managed to apply and acquire automatic renewal of its license to operate in 2016. This is a case of setting aside health for wealth, Mr. President. When the pharmaceutical company that is awarded contract to supply medicines to the Department of Health does not observe good manufacturing practice in the manufacture of its medicines, does this not pose a threat to the health and safety of our public? Bear with me, Mr. President, I could not help my investigative instincts. Was Doctors Pharmaceuticals actually setting aside health for wealth? In our efforts to dig deeper and convince ourselves with evidence involving this corporation, we referred to the PhilWealth database to see and examine the contracts granted to Doctors Pharmaceuticals. Strangely, Mr. President, we were able to extract only 5 copies or 5 notices of awards from December 2016 to July 2017 because PhilJEP's website went offline for an unusually long period of time. Anyway, examples of such award notices are as follows. Award Notice Abstract Reference Number 155775 and Award Notice Abstract Reference Number 1557777. Awarded to Doctors Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, Contact Person, Cesar T. Duque, President, for procurement of clozapine with a contract amount of 395,040 pesos and 3,102,000 pesos, respectively, with contract award date 24 July 2017, both under contract number GOP 2017-06-0193, with contract effectivity date 13 September 2017, and contract end date 13 November 2017. Another award notice abstract, reference number 1377959, has an award date 08 December 2016 and contract end date 31 December 2017. Take note that Secretary Duque was appointed DOH Secretary last October of 2017. As a former chairman of the Civil Service Commission, Secretary Duque, more than many of us, should know by heart the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials. Is it not incumbent upon Secretary Duque to exercise professionalism and ethical standards by stopping all dealings of his family's corporation with the very government agency that he heads? Mr. President, even the Supreme Court itself has made clear that the observance of professionalism in the context of Section 4A, paragraphs A and B of RA 6713 or Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees means upholding the integrity of public office by endeavoring to discourage wrong perception of their roles as dispensers or peddlers of undue patronage. Thus, a public official or employee should avoid any appearance of impropriety affecting the integrity of government services. Another standard set forth by the same law through Section 4, paragraph C provides that public officials must act with justness and sincerity. It further expounds that, and I quote, they, public officials, shall not dispense or extend undue favors on account of their office to their relatives, whether by consanguinity or affinity, except with respect to appointments of such relatives to positions considered strictly confidential or as members of their personal staff whose terms are coterminous with theirs, unquote. In a speech by then Civil Service Commission Chair Francisco Duque III during the Good Governance Forum on July of 2014, he said, and I quote, "In government, it is important to care enough so as to stop or stem unethical practice or practices before they become ingrained or systemic. The more we let things pass, the more ethical standards get lowered." Secretary Duque's words, not mine. Mr. President, let me make it clear and put on record, walang personalan. I raise these questions to ensure that public funds are not misused and abused, and that the health and safety of the public are not put at risk for personal or family interest. Mr. President, we are about to fully implement Republic Act number 11223, or the Universal Healthcare Act, which will give a full spectrum of health services to all Filipinos. With it comes a big chunk of our annual budget. The budget appropriated for this landmark law is pegged at 257 billion pesos for this year. In fact, the National Health Insurance Program, or NHIP, in which every Filipino shall be a member under the UHC, had appropriations of 52.2 billion and 60.6 billion in 2017 and 2018, respectively. And for this year, 67.35 billion has been allocated for the program. We cannot afford to lose 1 peso from policy failures, insurance frauds, and conflict of interest. Besides, Mr. President, these are the country's PhilHealth and Department of Health that we are talking about, not PhilWealth and Department of Wealth. Be that as it may, Mr. President, I refuse to believe that the agency is rotten to the core. In fact, I have heard of many honest and well-meaning PhilHealth officers and employees who braved the odds and blew the whistle on these various anomalies in the corporation. But they all found themselves thrown under the bus and harassed with concocted, fabricated offenses. They may now find comfort under the new leadership. I urge them to report everything they know and present their evidence to their new PhilHealth president. From all these accounts, we see that like a biological organism, machinations on the misuse of public power for private gain continue to evolve, thrive, and linger. Amid these shenanigans, it behooves public servants, let alone the Secretary of Health, to rid himself of conflict of interest and put the interests of the people above everybody else. Nothing else will suffice. Falling short of this will compromise his office, principles, and integrity. Someone once said, "Greed is a bottomless pit which exhausts the person in an endless effort to satisfy the need without ever reaching satisfaction." Sadly, Mr. President, greed in this country has reached new greater heights. It is now at the expense of the people's health, one that is considered a fundamental part of our basic human rights. Finally, I say with no reservation, corrupt public officials have no place on earth, but corrupt officials stealing health funds deserve an upgraded and super special suite in hell. Having said all that, I move that my privileged speech be referred to the Committee on Health and the Committee on Public Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations. Thank you, Mr. President.
The majority leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I just was curious because I also saw the province of Bukidnon there and other hospitals in Mindanao. How do they do would the gentleman yield to just a few questions?
Of course, willingly to the distinguished majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the issue on the overpayments, clearly it's unethical, clearly it is illegal. But the question that I'd like to place is, how would they take advantage? Let's say there are corrupt PhilHealth officials. Would the gentleman know on how they would take advantage of this overpayment? Would it be through a rebate scheme? Would the hospitals involved come up with a rebate scheme?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. The fact remains that there are overpayments, and this is not just overpayments, but overpayments in the amount of 2,500% incremental difference, Mr. President. That's unconscionable.
Do the whistleblowers that the good gentleman from Cavite discussed give a hint on how it's done? So that
Well, I think that would be a big challenge to the new PhilHealth president, who incidentally is here in our midst, Mr. President. So General Dick Morales. So that's why in my privileged speech, Mr. President, I enjoined the members of PhilHealth, because, you know, this information, most of this information came from them actually. They braved the odds, as I mentioned, to report all these shenanigans. And it is now their opportunity to report with their evidence to their new PhilHealth president, who I have known to be a man of integrity, a no-nonsense military officer during his time in the service, Mr. President.
So, Mr. President, with the revenue-generating measures that we've approved in the last 2 years, especially beefing up the coffers of PhilHealth, we congratulate the gentleman from Cavite for bringing this up, because we really need an efficient method of dispensation of these funds, or else all hell will break loose. Kawawa talagang taong bayan, and ang kawawa dito po yung mga nangangailangan ng tulong. So I congratulate the good gentleman from Cavite. We join him and we support him in this crusade to rid the agency, not only of PhilHealth, but also the Department of Health, of these corrupt practices. With that, Mr. President, we move that the speech of the gentleman from Cavite, Senator Ping Lacson, be referred to the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigation and the Committee on Health. It's a joint
The
hearing.
original motion of Senator Lacson is be referred to the Committee on Health and then secondarily to the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers.
Traditionally,
I suggest
Mr.
that-
President, traditionally, it's usually the Blue Ribbon Committee that heads the investigation. But if there's no objection from the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, I see no reason that the Health Committee be. May we recognize the Minority Leader?
The Minority Leader is recognized.
Mr. President, at the meeting today of the Committee on Rules, one of the issues that we discussed is the issue of the referral of speeches, of bills, of resolutions. And our agreement with the, if I recall correctly, is that the referral will be governed by the jurisdiction defined in the rules. And so that we avoid exercise of discretion, we avoid misunderstandings, and and we can rely on the rules. So it is not a question of the permission or concurrence of anyone, but it's a question of whether or not they would fall under this or that rule. In this particular case, Mr. President, since it would appear that the principal thrust of the speech of the gentleman from Cavite is on the anomalies in PhilHealth, our respectful submission, Mr. President, is that it should be referred to the Blue Ribbon Committee primarily, and secondarily to the Committee on Health. We so respectfully move, Mr. President.
The gentleman from Iloilo is absolutely correct, Mr. President, citing that all matters relating to, including investigation of malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance, is the direct concern of the Committee on, or the Blue Ribbon Committee, Mr. President.
All right, then we will treat the manifestation of Senator Lacson as a suggestion, and that we will act on the motion of the Majority Leader, which is that it be referred to the Blue Ribbon Committee and secondarily to the Committee on Health. And just to say again, for the record, from the Chair, that we need indeed speedy action, and as much as Senator Lacson mentioned that the new President is here. If you will recall, during the time we were discussing the budget of the Department of Health, particularly the PhilHealth, I brought to the attention of PhilHealth then this particular neurologist in Corondal City, Dr. Mark Dennis Benguita, Region 12 PhilHealth, who has been conducting the same anomalies that were reported. And we have not received any report from PhilHealth from then up to now. So please include it in the referral to the Committee on Blue Ribbon and Committee on Health. So, any objection to the motion? Chair hears none. Motion is approved. So referred.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, another distinguished gentleman of ours, Senator Joe